On tonight's show, we gather around the fireplace and listen to the radio that sits in front of me with the glowing tubes setting the scene for the Witch's Cave. I would like you to take a moment and grab a glass of that wonderful tasting bright light wine that we all began to love and enjoy with our meals and friends to boot. Talking about the incredible red shimmering glass of grapes from the East Coast, spiced and fermented, to the taste we all enjoyed from the first sip. So sit right back and enjoy a tale that we put before you. Good evening. My name is Kahl. I'm a reporter looking into the strange and supernatural. I work for a publication that reports these paranormal happenings monthly in an independent magazine. Come with me as I take a look into the unknown and the forbidden. I get along in my Model A with the wonderful rumble seat. Now this is a sweet car I got a few years back. I had to do a bunch of work to get this beauty. I knew the gentleman that owned the car, and it has been his son's. But his son went off to college and didn't need the Model A coupe anymore. His father decided to sell it, so I told him I was working for the newspaper in town, and I would put up $50 or so, and it was all mine. Now $50 in those days wasn't so easy to get, so it took some time. But he was understanding, and would allow me to come and wash it up and keep it all in tune. At least once a week I would take Mr. Harmon to the store in town to get supplies. In return, I would get to drive that good old Model A. And that Model A would be with me for a long, long time. She knows the stories that I went on with her, and she's always willing to hit the open road to the next spot. This week, we are headed out to the old Witch's Cave, the Bell Witch. There's a story of the Witch's Cave, actually a group of witches from what I'm told. My boss Steve decided it would be a good idea for me to come down because of the radio chatter that he heard on the ham. Boss was always listening to that radio and getting stories from it as if it were some kind of magic radio or something. But I guess you have to know what you're looking for and what frequency to be on. With the wire that I got from Boss, I knew it was something to head out and to see what I can do for the story. So while I'm driving there isn't much to do. Normally, listening to the radio would be a great idea. But the few stations that are around, it's really hit or miss. And a lot of miss. I have a radio that I set up in the seat next to me. Basically, it's just a normal radio, but I rigged it from my car and kind of hard to hear over the loud Bearcat engine. Luckily, it's just enough to keep the sleepies away. A few more hours of driving and I am spent. I pull over to the side of the road and get off the beaten path and grab a few hours of sleep. I pull into town just as the sun has broken the horizon of the trees. I roll into the nearest place that is selling some breakfast. So I'll grab a bite here and then hit the trail. I decided to see if the waitress knows anything about the local Bell story. Apparently, there is a tree that grows inside the cave. It is said that the mother witch of the area was buried under it, and other witches planted the tree, and it would grow with her, and as her, and would allow other witches to come and gather fallen leaves to their medicine bags, and take fresh cuts of their herbs. So I finished up at the eatery, and made my tracks down to the dusty road, to the place on the map that Miss Ellen showed me. I decided I would hit it later, so I rode down the road for a little while and got my bearings. So I headed back to the hotel for a nap, so that I would have enough stamina to last the night for investigating this cave. I finally stroll out to the coupe and get underway. It's time to get this investigation going. I get there and turn my car lights off, just to make sure I'm under the cover of night. So lights are minimal, just to say the least. But my friend put together a flashlight for me that was a little bit brighter than the other ones were. This had more to do with the power going to the bulb. With this, I had a flash that had a red lens connected to it, and it made it easier to see in the dark, and also equipped me with a lantern that was charged by a winding device. The witch of the area was said to have haunted these grounds since the 1700s. The entrance to the cave was covered in an oddly green moss. It grew along the side of the rock formation. I can also smell the sweet aroma of the magnolia tree that's blooming around. Brown and red leaves covered the ground. The leaves weren't all nice and neat like the fresh autumn leaves. The leaves were crumpled and torn up quite a bit. The sound of the river gave an ominous feeling. It didn't sound like normal running water. There was an eeriness to the trickles. As I walked down to the mouth of the cave, and I am wearing soft-soled moccasins to keep the footsteps down to a minimum. The cave ceilings ranges from high to low in areas. Without any light, it's so dark that I can't even tell which way I'm pointing. The woods are quiet, and there are no sounds, not even wind, not even trickles of the river below. I walk into the cave slowly. Still no sounds. I walk deeper and deeper into the abyss of darkness. I hear a sound coming from beyond where the gate is. It sounds far away, but as if it were right beside my ear, whispering to me. I have never experienced this before. I chalk it up to being in the cave where the sounds go everywhere. I see something slightly shimmer off to my left. I keep my eyes slowly gazing around. I can see a shimmer fade and then move to the right. I can hear a slight giggle behind me. Then nothing. I hear a low rumble sound all around the cave, as if it were moving or something like that. In the distance, I hear wind chimes. Odd place for wind chimes, but they're there. I turn around, silent as a church mouse. I see nothing outside the cave, and seems to be going farther away all by the second. I can see a shadow form, and it was running from the left to the right. I turn around, and I creep forward. And it seems there's another part of this cavern to my left. There's like a window in between the parts of the cave. This is where I see a dim light moving around. And it was too quick for a human to run, you know. I crouched down. I tried to make myself small, and I was hoping my eyes would adjust to the darkness faster than I wanted it to. I tried to use my peripherals. Oh geez, I just heard something right in front of me. The groan of the cave gets louder, and the ominous drips of water seem to slam against the floor and walls of this cave with anger. I hear something. It's like chains. It is coming from where the gate is. I have a device I call flash meter. Looks like a big flashlight, except this thing collects information on energy in the atmosphere. In some studies done, it's considered a specter finder. I also trust my thermometer to keep an eye on the temperature around me and the area I'm investigating. When there's something paranormal or supernatural around, it's said that the temperature can drop. I also have my flash camera set up with the ultraviolet light and flash bulb set to a timer. I hold my flash EMF and slowly move around. If there's anything around, the bulb will start to glow or flicker. To my left, I hear a sound. More chimes start to ring in the cave. I turn toward where I think the gate is, and I head that way. Slowly does it. I try to walk with the sounds of the water dripping, breathing at the same pace. I move toward what I think is the gate, with my arm outstretched and hoping that I grab onto some piece of metal instead of an arm or a face or whatever may be in front of me. This is nerve-wracking to the extreme. I can hear a moan starting gently and get louder, and then it fades. I hear walking from behind, and it stops. It starts. I get low and stop, only for a moment to hear nothing. I give a few more moments, and I move forward, still in a crouch. I hear something flutter atop of the cave, and it moved behind me. No doubt it could be a bat trying to get out of here. There are louder drips coming from my 2 o'clock, and it's just a bit louder than the others. Seems extrinsically. I hear the wind start to pick up as the chimes started around me again. Another moan from inside the cave. I keep moving forward. I keep on moving forward, because if I'm standing still, I'm moving backwards. So I gaily bedied toward this El Dorado. Walk, boldly walk. I have tinnitus, meaning I have a ringing tone in my ear 24/7. On occasion, when things get really wild in the paranormal field, the ringing starts to get louder and louder. As I move forward, the ringing in my ears starts to annoy me, to say the least. It is what it is. I keep my flash EMF moving in front of me, and at a slow pace, because if you move it too fast, it can read wrong. So I keep it steady as a preacher's hand. It is said that there is a grave carved in the stone floor. I haven't even tried to look for this yet. It is way too dark to see anything, much less a needle and a stack of needles. An orange glow from the bulb flickers a few times, never staying on steady. This is how this thing works. If it's on steady, then you got something. I hear more movement to my back right, just outside the gate, maybe a dozen yards or so. The flash goes off. I hear a step to my left. I crouch down and turn toward the noise. I can't see anything at all. I haven't even tried to look behind me. Just hadn't thought of it, so I start to turn and grab onto the wall so I don't fall down. I'm sure glad I was holding onto that wall, because what I saw next was wow. Yowza. A small figure had started to walk inside the cave. Only the silhouette, and not able to see much else except the figure walking towards me. I start to get a bit of a knot in my belly. I wasn't ready for this kind of action so fast, but here we are, and let's get to it, shall we? At that moment, the flash of a camera went off to the left of me. The camera that I had on a timer. Maybe I can catch something on film, if I'm lucky, and most times I'm really not. I hear some fluttering above, and more screeching of the bats as they try to make a fast getaway. I hear more movement from behind, and I ignore it. I have to just see what lays ahead. Nothing but darkness, and a hint of laughter here and there. I'm also starting to hear voices around me, but can't really quite make out what's being said. I move forward, and on forward. Every inch I walk seems like a yard or so, but it's really not. As I am stepping as quiet as I can in this darker than dark place, I get a glimpse of something above me. It's a small opening to the cave, and I can see stars. The cave starts to narrow as I get down to this cool, damp, and mysterious place. More groans from the darkness ahead of me and behind me, slowly as I go. It starts to feel very claustrophobic, probably because I'm all alone in here. Well, the only living human. I keep my hand outstretched so I know where the walls are, because I really don't want to get a face full of cave. I keep feeling like it's all about to close in on me. I kind of stumble toward this wider room of the cave. The sound changed dramatically. The feeling got more ominous. I crouch down to the left wall and brace myself against it. I look up I see two magenta eyes glaring back at me. Oddly enough, hear a sound like a howling behind in the distant part of the cave that I have to get back through to get out of here. But at the moment, I'm staring into the eyes of something. The witch? Could be. Could be something else also. Don't forget these lands were the Native American Indians, and this cave could have very well been a sacred ground to them. Sounds like a woman or older child yelling in front of me. Sounds like they're being beaten or killed somehow, but I don't know. But the sound of the distress is incredibly unnerving. It sounds like a baby yelling at times. I keep my eyes on the magenta eyes that are staring back at me, and I can see the eyes start to sway back and forth, as if it were a predator, getting ready to pounce on its prey. So with this thing ahead of me, trying to get the best of me, I always been a few steps ahead. I usually try to keep an eye on all around, ears too. There aren't any weapons that I carry that will get rid of these or even kill the spirits, or specters, or creatures of the night, or even good old-fashioned ghosts. I walk forward. This thing is keeping an eye on me on every movement I make. I can hear talking and whispering from it. I can't understand the things that it says, so I just keep moving towards it. As I get closer, I can see a figure start to form around the eyes. It's like it's a floating head. But then I can see fabric swaying in the wind above me. I move closer and closer, and all the while hearing snake sounds around me, both by movement and their slithering tongues that seem to reverberate against the walls. I decide to grab my regular flash bulb and turn it on. The dim light of the flash illuminated the immediate area, and as soon as I was looking at the creature, it started to fade away and move backwards. As it moved backwards, I tried to run towards it. I tried to run forward, but my foot caught an unbalanced rock and slipped on it, falling to the ground. Silence. My flash went out. I can hear a whine of something above me, and those damnable eyes coming right at me. I roll over to the right and get to my feet as fast as I can. And mind you, I can't see anything in any direction. My flash seems to be busted, and I am just SOL. But as I look around the room, I can see my EMF start to glow ever so slightly. And it's a steady on, instead of the normal flickering that it normally shows. This must mean the electromagnetic field is picking up something very, very strong. It starts to flicker, and then goes out. Silence. I am blinded by a bassy sound that penetrates my ears and shoots screaming pains to my receptors, and blinding headaches immediately. I put my hands to my ears with no avail. I can't seem to stop the screeching sound. I decided to make a break for the exit, if I can even locate it through the frickin' darkness. And then I remembered I had a few flares tucked in my pocket, so I grab a flare and strike it up. And a low glow opens up a foot around me. I reach the flare's fuse. Blammo! A red light to get me back to anywhere but here. I see a big room in front of me, as well as the black mass standing between me and the exit. I decided to go right for the jugular, take the head off the beast as it were. So grab for my bone knife. As I move forward, I hold the flare in my left hand and see the darkness of the being getting bigger and bigger as it grows right in front of me. Keep my blade out to my right and drop down and start stabbing at anything that I can, hoping that I'll hit this black mass. I drop the flare. I reach with my left hand to my back and pull out the other bone knife that I had tucked away just for emergencies. I start windmilling both arms as I move forward to where I can see the exit is. The beast ahead of me stays true. It starts to screech as my blades start to hit whatever this thing is. Then it starts to fade and goes over my head and disappears. Silence. I don't hear anything, and I don't see anything at all. I drop down and grab the flare, and I start moving toward the exit, and I bolt and get out of this place. Finally out. I have no idea how I did it, but it happened. But I'm going to have to tell you next time on what I had found on the camera. So stay tuned till next time.